Certainly excited to get moving. We've obviously got a lot of work to do with where we want to go, but it's been going good so far. Look forward to getting ready for spring practice and getting out on the field and working with our guys to see, what we have and what we need to do to improve. We certainly got a lot of work to do, but we're excited about the process. We're excited about the effort and the intentions of the guys so far. So to be honest with you, we understand that there's not really a magic wand to what we got to get done. When you look at it, it's going to come down to, a few things. Number one, it's going to come down to preparation. Okay, we've got to make sure that we prepare for the things that we're going to see throughout the course of the year. Then it's going to come down to practice, being on the field and practice and those type of things that we get into meetings. And then at the end of the day, it's going to be execution. So those are the three main things that we're going to have to really focus on to get us to where we want to be. I can tell you that I have a great appreciation for the fans here and the passion of our fans. I understand that in this league, it's a very competitive league from top to bottom, and you're going to get challenged every week. I also understand that and I embrace the passion our fans have to be a good defense, to be a good football team, and we're going to certainly work our tails off over the next few months to reestablish the identity that we need to play with for us to be successful, and that's what we're going to do moving forward. And I've always said our identity is going to be that we're going to play fast, physical, and aggressive, and that's how we're going to approach everything that we do, and that we understand that every time we go on the field, it's an opportunity for us to get better, and we have to make those improvements through over the next few months in everything that we do to allow us to be where we want to be for next year. My family is certainly excited. They're actually on their way here now, and we're certainly excited to become a part of this community. Moving's always a transition for your families. I can tell you that my wife and my kids are very excited to get here, to be a part of this community, and be a part of what we're going to do moving forward. And it's interesting. It wasn't too long ago that Coach Mullen and this staff was number one in the country in what they were doing. And, this program has been built by him and has had a lot of success. And I fully expect us to work to reestablish that identity and get us back to where everybody wants to go. So with that, I'll kind of open it up for questions. Go ahead. You could throw it if you wanted.
Will Simon from the Clarion Ledger. Congrats on the job first. Just elementary question to start things off. Just what appealed to you about Mississippi State? You have a long successful history as well. So what appealed to you about coming here?
Well, first of all, as a coach, you always look for challenges. Those things always intrigue you. And the SEC, from top to bottom, is the most competitive, challenging conference in the country. If you look at our schedule next year, we're going to play some of the top teams in the country. And I've said this a long time. It's really easy to get where you want to go from a championship standpoint. Beat the teams on your schedule. You're going to be in a conference championship with the ability to play for a national title. This program has won, and it wasn't too long ago they were number one in the country. They have had a history of having good defensive players here. If you look throughout the past few years, the amount of NFL draftable guys that they've had good players here, okay? We want to reestablish that and get back to that. So being able to be a part of reestablishing that identity, being able to be a part of being around one of the most competitive conferences in the country, being with a head coach that's done it before, all of those things were appealing to me. And, as I got involved in the process and got to be around Coach Mullen and his wife a little bit more, there was a natural fit. There's a very good comfort with what he wanted from his defense and what I was looking for. So it was really a match that I felt was right and wanted to do it.
David Murray from Dog's Bite. Coach, can you take us through the process of how Coach Mullen approached you about this job?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, everyone at the end of the year always does their evaluations on the season. And certainly we want to reestablish the identity of where we feel like our program should be. As all of that was going on here, you start hearing rumors and things of possible changes. So as the communication started that there might be, an opportunity here, that's when the conversation started. And it was more of a discussion on my philosophies from my standpoint of how we need to play and those kind of things, along with what he was looking for. And it was a very good mesh with what he was wanting to do and the way I think that you should play to win a championship. And it was just a natural process. So it really started off with understanding there may be an opportunity. Once that came about and there was conversation on, my philosophy, his philosophy, my teaching background or my teaching progressions and those kind of things, it was a very comfortable fit. It was something that honestly excited me a lot the more I talked to him. And that's kind of how it kept going to what it is today.
Coach, Steve Robertson with Dogs Bite and Gene's Page. Have you had an opportunity to evaluate film at all? I know you've been on the road recruiting. Do you have a sense of what kind of hand you've been dealt here?
Yeah, well, first of all, what we did is it's a new day for everybody, defensively. So whether you had a great year last year, not as good as you want, and we're going to work to get you better, you're really all on the same track, okay? Because really I'm going to evaluate you from what you do while I'm here and what we do on the field. I have been able to take the graduate assistants that we have here, and I've roughly made a 25 to 30 play cut-up of each guy to try to give you a summary of where they are or their abilities. Now, that doesn't necessarily always define the player, but it gives you a starting point. So all we're doing is honestly have a starting point with our players, and from there we'll develop our team. Guys are going to have to play more than one position. Guys are probably going to move the position they're in right now. So the big thing I told them is don't worry about where you're playing. Don't worry about what depth chart you're on. From that standpoint, just make plays. And if you end up making plays, we'll find a way to get you on the field. Because at the end of the day, defense is about, defeating blockers and tackling the guy with the ball, making plays. So if you can do that, we'll find a way to get you on the field. So that's really where we are with that, and just trying to give everybody a fair opportunity to showcase their talent. And I think that based upon the guys we see here, I like our work ethic. I like our intentions. We're working to develop the kind of habits you got to have to be consistent. Football is a grinding game, and your consistency and performance throughout the whole year is critical. And that really starts in practice. That starts with how you approach every day. So right now we're working on making sure that we compete every day, because you've really got to learn how to compete to win a position before you can help us compete to win a game. So that's where we are right now. We're in the initial phases of what we want to get done, which is basically learning how to compete every day to showcase your talents. And as you do that, you can help us win a game. Sure.
Coach, just kind of describe I know you have a little bit, but your philosophies to defense, your approach to coaching defense, and what you think you need to fix the most on this team.
Well, first of all, the objectives that you have are you've got to prevent points. Okay, that's the number one thing. Then after that, you've got to force turnovers. Okay, get the ball back. You always want to work to get the ball back from that standpoint in good field position. So that right there is the objective, is to be hard to score on and create turnovers to get the ball back for the offense. Okay, and there's nothing that says you can't score if you get the ball. Now, from a philosophical standpoint, the number one thing you got to do is you got to stop the run. You can't let people run the ball on you. Okay, if you stop the run and they cannot run the ball on you, that creates an advantage for you in the sense that they become one-dimensional. Once that occurs, now you need to find ways to affect the quarterback. In other words, we got to find ways to make him play bad. And really, if you do that with the identity that we want to play with, which is fast, physical, and aggressive, you're going to be in every game. Now, every game is not going to be perfect in the standpoint from a score standpoint. One week it might be 10-7, the next week it might be 33-30. But at the end of the day, you got to keep playing. And if you keep playing for 4 quarters, the team that plays the hardest, the longest, is the team that's going to win. Okay, so we want to try to reestablish that from that perspective. But really, it goes back from a philosophical standpoint: is you have to stop the run, and you have to find ways to make the quarterback play bad. Because been doing this a long time, the guy that turns the ball over the most on any level is the quarterback. Okay, so we have to find ways to get him to turn the ball over. And if you look at the history of our defense, we've done that pretty good over the last 7 years, and we'll continue to do that with the emphasis being stop the run and find ways to disrupt the quarterback. And I think that as far as I think those are areas right there we've got to improve upon. I think when you look at where we were, the program was last year, I mean, that's something that we've got to significantly improve for us to win the games that we want to win. So first of all, it's going to start with stopping the run. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. That's gap control, that's tackling, that's running to the ball, that's playing with a physical mindset. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. But really, from a simplicity standpoint, you want to stop the run and affect the quarterback. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Coach Jonathan Flippo with WCBI Sports in Columbus. How eager and excited are you to try to get this defense back to the top 3 in the SEC, as in the likes of Alabama and LSU?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the challenge. I mean, I'm very excited about the challenge to do that. I certainly like the intentions of our players. We've obviously got some work to do. But, that's why we're all work. That's why the players are in the weight room and on the field conditioning. That's why we're in meetings right now, putting in the playbook, evaluating our players. I mean, it's a whole process. And, the enjoyment of it is the journey, meaning developing a relationship with the players. It's fun to watch a player develop. It's fun to watch a player believe, because belief is a powerful thing. And when the players believe in you, you see the improvement. So that's what we're really working on right now, is to develop that relationship between coach and player to player, to understand there's a trust factor. I think that's the way you got to coach, in the sense that every guy's not going to be the same. Every guy's not going to see things the same way. So sometimes you got to expand, or you got to tweak your teaching progressions relative to the player you have, to make sure that at the end of the day we're all playing to our identity. Okay. But being able to get back to your original question, being able to get back to being one of the top defenses in the SEC is certainly a challenge. It's something that we embrace, and it's something that we fully expect to have happen over the next, little bit.
Joel Coleman, Starford Daily News. You obviously had recent experience with Coach Buckley at Louisville and things. How much, if at all, did you rely on him for any information regarding the program coming in? And how good is that to have a guy that's pretty familiar with your style the first day you come in?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing there was that anytime you take over and you're, bringing in a staff, anytime you can get some continuity in teaching or understanding of each other is good. That's why the continuity thing is kind of important from the standpoint of everybody understands people and you've been around people. So fortunately for Coach Buckley and I, we've worked together in the past, and he understands our system, he understands our language, he understands the things that we want. So the learning curve in that area has not been as great as maybe some other positions. So I think that helps us moving forward, that there will be some continuity in what we're looking for out of our corners and our secondary, to allow us to be able to be productive in our play.
Hey, Todd. Robbie Font from 247 Sports. Can you just kind of describe what you want out of your defensive linemen and linebackers at each position? I know it's different for different coaches with some of those players.
Well, first of all, up front, we want to disrupt the play. I mean, I think that you've got to be physical in your front, guys. You've got to have size. You've got to have some size inside particularly. But you want to be an aggressive style. We're a one-gap team. We're going to be a penetrating team, and we want to look to find ways to create negative yardage plays. The reason for that is anytime you can get the offense behind the sticks, it puts the advantage to you as a defensive player, in the sense that 2nd and 10 is a little bit easier to call than if it's 2nd and 4. So we want to be aggressive in our play up front. We want to be physical. We want to work to play with our hands, because defense is about playing with your hands to being able to get off blocks. So we want to be able to stop the run doing those things. And then after that, we've got to find ways to disrupt the quarterback with our rush. Now, the rush in the front isn't always about sacks. It's about disrupting the quarterback, and a lot of times that can be even pocket push. So we want to find ways in our rush to affect the quarterback and find ways to get legal hits on him, because quarterbacks don't like it when they're uncomfortable in the pocket. So we've got to do that with those guys. You know, linebackers have got to be able to run and hit. In our scheme, our linebackers are also going to be blitzers. They're going to be doggers. They're going to be guys that are going to be coming. So you have to have the ability to win the one-on-one blocks, whether it be against a back, a tight end, or coming off the edge. So from that standpoint, we want to look for speed on the field. We want to get guys that can run and hit. They're short tacklers. They have a little bit of nose for the ball, and they have the ability that they can affect the quarterback on one-on-one blocks. You know, safeties are really the guys that when you look at, we're going to ask them to tackle in space. So as a safety, you got to be a good tackler. You've got to be a guy that can pattern match. We're a pattern match zone defense, which means we're playing zone, but based upon the route distributions, we're going to match it. So our safeties are going to get a lot of keys that way. So they've got to understand the keys. They've got to understand the stems by the guy they're looking at. And from there, they got to have the ability to make plays on the ball. Because in our defense, they should have the ability to get their hands on a lot of balls relative to the pressure and based upon what they see from a route distribution standpoint. And then our corners have got to be guys that can play physical, can press, can be able to challenge the outside throws and make plays on balls that are thrown down the field. So really, in a nutshell, that's kind of all the different positions. And you know, as you go through and see the depth chart, I wouldn't be concerned with where guys are right now, because we'll be moving guys around. We're just giving them a starting point for where we are, and obviously it'll change throughout the course of summer and fall.
I was going to ask about the secondary, so you just hit on that a lot. But just to kind of add to that, this team ranked last in the SEC in I think passing yards per game.
Mm-hmm.
How do you fix that, and why do you think a guy like Ron English, what does he provide for this team that you like?
Well, first of all, I always look at defense as a team defense. So when we're good at stopping the run, the secondary is involved in that because you don't give up explosive plays. And also you're going to have gap fits and gaps for those guys. I look at passing defense as a team defense also. So the ability for the quarterback to hold the ball is not a good thing. So we have to find ways to force the quarterback to get rid of the ball. That's when I go back to saying, hey, you got to affect the quarterback. Well, I don't care who you are from a coverage standpoint. If the guy can sit back there and not worry about getting hit, not worried about, a guy coming free, or not worried about a certain look, and they get comfortable in the pocket, they can make pretty much any throw. What we want to do is we want to work to try to put them under duress, okay, from the standpoint of maybe what they see pre-snap is not the same thing they see post-snap. Because every quarterback is going to have a picture before they get the ball. Well, if that picture stays the same throughout the entire down, then they're going to execute at a pretty positive rate, okay? So what we like to do is give that picture, but as the play develops, that picture goes away, and it's really not what you thought it was, which forces you to hold the ball a little bit longer, and now your rush has to come into play. So I think that when you talk about pass defense, is not only the back-end guys, but it's the front-end guys too, because you're a team. And we've got to find ways to force the quarterback to throw the ball a little bit quicker. We've got to find ways to put a little doubt in the guy's head in what he's doing and not let him execute at the level he obviously executed last year. So those are the things we're going to work on, in the next few months.
When you get the job, you start to look at the roster and who's who. Anybody sort of jump out at you that made you say, wow, I'm excited to coach this guy?
I wouldn't say a specific person right now. I think I'm more excited about our team and what we need to do. And I think that the impression they give me live is going to be more to what I'm going to look forward to than say what I saw on tape. I'm kind of giving everybody the same opportunity right now.
Brett Hudson, Commercial Dispatch. First, there's a lot of JUCO defenders in this recruiting class. Have you ever had this many JUCO guys on a roster? And what's your ideology to get those guys in?
Well, here's the thing about that is it's really, we're all first-year players. in other words, whether you were here, it's a new system. So whether you're a JUCO or you played here last year, it's all the same. So in a lot of ways for the JUCO guys, it's going to allow them to be on the same playing field as the guys last year because the system we're putting in is totally different. So that's not going to be a really big factor. I think the biggest factor is defense is about playmakers, defense is about athletes, defense is about getting your best 11 players on the field. So what we've got to do is we've got to find ways to get our best players on the field. So that means that guys are going to have to play more than one spot. We're going to have to train guys, and we're going to move guys probably through spring to find ways to get the best combination of players. So I don't really think that those guys coming in is going to be necessarily a disadvantage for them because it's a new system for everybody. I think the advantage there is I've seen a lot of quality mid-year guys that have the things that we look for to be a productive defense. I think adding that talent is going to allow us to be a better team. I think it's more that than the fact that they're coming in mid-year.
And second, your linebackers over the last 2 years have ranked highly in the nation in impact plays like tackles for loss and things like that. How much of that was talent at Louisville, and how much of that was your prioritizing linebackers being in playmaking situations?
I think it's a combination of both. I think you got to, defense, as a coach, you always find ways to put your players in one-on-one situations. Defense is about trying to understand what the other team is doing and make them beat you left-handed. So as you know those things, how can I put the players we have in position to make plays? So I think it's both. And I think you've got to have players that can win the one-on-one matchups. You've got to have players that go back to what I said before. They got to prepare, they got to practice, they got to execute. So, as a coach, you try to take the players that you have and play to their strengths. And that's what we're going to do here. We'll play their strengths, and I would fully expect us to be able to have similar kind of success here based upon what I've seen so far and the way we're going to play.
Forgot to do this the first time, Andy Lee, WTVA Television. Now, if you're talking to us this time next year, you'll be somewhat of an institution with the bit of the turnover. Is that something that you and Coach Mullen discussed, or
yeah?
What was some of that conversation?
Look at my family, I felt this is the reason. When you look, like I have a son that's going to be a sophomore, okay, and I thought it was really important to be somewhere I felt I could be for his high school careers, and when the opportunity like this came up, it was something that I fully expected would allow me to see him graduate from high school here. And that's certainly the approach that I've taken, and it's certainly what we're going to work on.
Coach, being in the SEC East for several years now, the Atlantic Coast Conference, what was the impression around that section of the country about Dan Mullen's offense and how this program has thrived in that regard?
Well, I think that, first of all, there's a lot of people that have tried to emulate his offense because of the success he's had. I think that the other thing, when you look at it, there's no one in the country better than him at developing quarterbacks. I think if you look at the quarterbacks he's developed and the success they've had not only in college but in pro football has shown that he has the ability to develop quarterbacks. That's not just say necessarily happened here, but that's happened throughout his career. So anytime you have a coach that has the ability to develop quarterbacks, you're going to play good. You're going to have the ability to have success. So his ability to develop quarterbacks combined with the commitment to, say, run the ball, the commitment to have multiple formations, and then they will have their shots down the field has allowed them to be the kind of offense they've been over the last little bit. So I think that when you look at it, he's really built this program, and he's built it through the things that he believes are fundamentally what you have to do to win. And I certainly agree with everything that he's talked about, and certainly look forward to being a part of the tradition that he has here, and looking forward to being a part of us being the kind of team we want to be moving forward.